I'm Dark Mark. Welcome to Fallible the 13th, Episode 5, Repairing the Space-Time Continuity, or A Stitch in Time Saves None. One of the most difficult things to follow in this franchise is time. Why don't we start with Jason's assumed drowning? That was in 1957. Mrs. Voorhees killed the counselors involved in 58. The main story says the present, which would be 1980. But because of a tombstone that appears in Part 4 stating Mrs. Voorhees' death as 1979, we'll go with 1979. Part 2 was released in 1981. The start of the film is 2 months after the original, so let's say August of 1979. Then the story jumps ahead 5 years, putting us in 1984. You still with me? Part 3 begins where Part 2 left off. It's not even Friday the 13th anymore, it's Saturday the 14th, and it spans over the next couple of days. Part 4 begins hours after Part 3 ended, so the franchise's timeline has finally caught up with our timeline, taking place in 1984 and being released in 1984. Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, was released in 1985. It does a 6-year jump and now takes place in 1989. Part 6, Jason Lives, only does a 1-year jump, making it 1990. It was released in 1986. Part 7 does a crazy 7-year jump, taking us to 1998 and only released in 88. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, arguably one of the worst in the series, only does a 1-year time jump to 1999, but introduces a backstory with its final girl, Rennie, who was a senior in high school that was supposedly pulled down under the water by Jason when he was a boy. Well, that was in 1957, so how old is this girl? I've seen this explained in other places that because of her empathetic feelings, she saw him as a child. What? Let's move on. Released in 1993, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday not only turned the entire legend on its head, this one time jumps to 2003. Jason X, released in 2003, time jumps all over the place. It begins in 2008 to 2010 to 2455. Finally, this brings us to Freddy vs. Jason, released in 2003 and taking place in 2003. The franchise comes full circle. When will we get Part 12 and Part 13? Well, that has to be settled in court over copyright issues. Some people consider the 2009 Friday the 13th Part 12, but it is what it is. It's a reboot. Join me next time, Dark Mark, for Fallible the 13th.